just to be respectful of your all's time, and we've got a good number of folks online that are watching. And then anyone that you know, we purposely kept this very small and intimate. That way you can ask questions, we can have a conversation afterwards. You can talk to any of our staff. You'll be able to do so. So if you know folks that weren't able to attend, we'll have this online for people to watch. It's on Facebook Live as well. And then we're actually also, our partners with ACTL, National County Library here, we'll be presenting this same or roughly the same presentation at their library in September also. So we're promoting that out. So in case folks, weren't able to today, they can do that. So I'm Dave Thomas, most year's county auditor. We've got some folks from out of county, which is great. Joined here with two of our staff in the back, Mohney and Heidi Barringer, who will be presenting. Dennis Huey, unfortunately, he's sick this week, so he won't be able to be here. He's really, really bummed. I won't be able to attend to share some of the things. He gave me a quick kind of overview to go through. His section was first, and then we'll hear from Heidi and then Deb. Feel free to ask questions if you have something that you'd like to add or have any concerns, thoughts. Feel free just to raise your hand. We'll call on you. Very informal. As you know, we have a ton of information, so we're excited to be sharing this with you. So we'll go ahead and get started. So on page number 1, essentially Dennis's portion was, we're looking at 3 different ways to roughly gauge how old your home is. We'll share with you how to look up age of property or kind of title and chain of property or who owned what. But this first section is a very basic way to think of, well, how roughly old is my home? And so that's our first section. We're looking at properties from 1795 to 1920. So now page number 2, this first one here, all of these pictures, all these homes, Dennis actually went around in that afternoon and took pictures of each one. So they're all here in the county. So if you're curious as to where specifically one is, or you want to learn more about one particular one, feel free to email. All of our emails are on the agenda page, the first page. So you can reach out at any time. So Blake's Log Cabin. When are Log Cabin days? September 10th and 11th. If you're available that weekend, right in Plymouth Township, you can go in the log cabin, tour it right out of the basement. Really cool. Get some soup and some pie and whatever I'm serving on Sunday. I don't know. Visit there. So that's the first home here. It may be the only surviving first-generation log cabin in our county. They were the norm, of course, before sawmills, semi-passable roads were introduced in the early 1800s. So that's a one-of-a-kind in our county and just in general, too. So roughly, we think Dennis put 1809. So now page number 3, we're looking at a federal with a center chimney. And he wrote, Rome and Greece, being the first republics, greatly influenced early America in our architecture, including how we designed our homes. Federal and Greek revival styles were modeled after their public buildings. So that's an example of a federal with a center chimney. And those are roughly 1800 to 1835. Page 4, which will be this page here. We've got folks at home that are looking at this too. Federal home with an end chimney. So this is right in Ashtabula across from the Andover Bank. And as you can see, there are variations though using similar architecture elements. These were end. Page 3 was a center chimney. Same rough time frame, 1810 to 1830. Now page, oh yes.
Where is that one located?
Oh, this one specifically?
Yes, the federal one. The yellow one.
Oh, the yellow one, this one? So if I remember correctly, because I drive by this occasionally, this is going down on 46 in the Lenox area, township. It's at Ray's Corner. This is, I think, the southeast side. And if I'm wrong, tell me later. If I remember that specific home. Yep. So now we're over to page number 5, which is this home. It's the beige brown home. Actually, this is Dennis Huey's home. He and his wife have restored this home in Kingsville Township, right in the center of town. This is formal Greek revival. Sketches and paintings of the Parthenon and other Greek structures influenced the imaginations of architects of the day. From the most substantial, which would be this, and this is roughly 1825 to 1860. So you can see some of the pillars, some of the styles. That's how you would know that rough time frame. Then page number 6, which is the next page, Simple Greek Revival, which is more of a country style. This is the common citizen farmer who had the same type of dream. Their homes, though less costly to build, use some similar elements, such as cornice returns on the roof lines. So that same time frame, about 1825 to 1860, you can think if you see a home like that, that's roughly where it will be. Now, page number 7. You're good. So Victorian Styles. So you can read there a little bit of explanation for Queen Victoria's time and how she had influenced in that time period, influenced some of the homes here in Ashtabula County. We'll move on to page number 8. These are always really interesting. Octagon Homes. These were in style, more particular of a time frame, roughly 1850 to 1860. Theories abound as to why an 8-sided house, but that's a topic you can study online. There's lots of different information there. There are 5 homes and 1 barn style of this type in our county. I don't know specifically which of the 5 this one is, if anyone knows, but that's one of the 5. And like I said, you can reach out to this if you'd like, and we can show you exactly where that one is. Page number 9. The Italiante in style from 1860 to roughly 1880. So rich Americans traveling to Europe were influenced by different styles, and Italy had her villas to entice them away from the stalewart styles from years ago. Large rooms with high ceilings and big windows were the norm. It would help through the hot summers in Northeast Ohio, as we're experiencing right now even in this room. So that's roughly 1860 to 1880. Now page number 10. This is the restaurant in Austinburg on Route 45, just south of town. Completely blanking on the name of it though. Coffee Creek. Yep, thank you. The brick home up front, same time frame, 1860 to 1880. Just as you can see, variations of that type of style, the Italiante style. Page 11. Second Empire. This is a French style recognized by a steep pitched mansard roof. That, I believe, is in Rock Creek, just south of town on Route 45. The big home there on the right as you're leaving town. It was for sale just recently, a couple years ago, actually. Page number 12. You got part of Dennis's finger there. And a transitional style. This home clearly exhibits the joining to 2 style, with the basic house being Italiante and then the attached tower with a second Empire mansard roof. Mix and match is nothing new with different styles that time frame. Again, 1860 to 1880 or so. Not sure where this one is located. That one's a little bit more unique to me. Page number 13. Our Venetian friends will recognize this. This is the bed and breakfast right there in town. Page number 13, Queen Anne, often exhibiting elements seen on English castles or manors, such as towers or turrets. It's more of a romantic style, absolutely beautiful inside if you've never been inside. Grandpa's bed and breakfast, right? Is that roughly?
It's in Conneaut.
Yes, yep. Really good place. They've done a good job with it. Page 13. Now page 14. So this explains early 20th century, some of the different changes of mixing old and new styles and how you can see based on certain types in the properties, 1900s forward. We'll move on to page 15. Colonial Revival. This is the White House. This is right here in Jefferson, right kitty corner actually to the new courthouse. So roughly 1915 to 1940, a large time frame. Not one pure style. They tend to be a mix of English, Georgian, American colonial, and Federal Greek revival elements. Page 16. That house looks really familiar, but I can't quite say which. Craftsman style, an early beginning of the rustic home movement, bringing some natural elements and influence inside the home. Wood beams, natural trim, and some stonework would be in those types of homes in style 1895 to 1930. And then page 17, blue home. 4 square in style from 1890 to 1930. This is right here in Jefferson. I believe it's the street that the old Circle K, the McDonald's is on. You just go right past there, and it's a nice blue home there. Tends to be more of a modest style for middle-income families, traditional influence in the design. So those are just some ideas of some of the different roof types or outside fronts or inside work of roughly when homes could be built based on their style. Dennis is our real estate manager. He loves to go out and build homes, help folks with those types of things. So if you have any questions or maybe you have some unique styles in your property, definitely reach out to us and he'd be happy to talk with you. If you don't want to go through more of the research and more of the in-office approach that we're going to hear now from Heidi in our office, who works in our conveyance firm. So Heidi comes to us from community planning last year and has a wide variety of backgrounds and interests. And her and Deb on their lunch break actually do this stuff for fun. So they'll go through genealogy, they'll go through recorders information. So they research, they travel and do things. Yes.
I'm just curious, in the county, a lot of neighborhoods in this county, I see a lot of rectangular homes on farms with a kitchen attached to it. Yet they're so prominent or prevalent in the county. Why aren't there any in your exhibit?
Good question. That's something I can ask Dennis, some of the older farm home styles and what time frames those would be.
Probably about the 1880s, 1800s. That's what I was told when I asked for the locals.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And of course, more of our rural farm areas, they've gone through some changes over the years, but that style was very prevalent. So I can ask him and we can reach out. Yes, Mel.
I just have a question. All the other homes, understanding what they are, the Italian, Latin. So why do they call this one 4 square?
Oh, we have maybe an answer. Oh, so 4 bedrooms on the second floor, 1 in each corner. Interesting. Very neat. So, okay, let's see. Heidi, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm trying not to be nervous because I know everyone here has the same interests as I do. Yes, I work for David, and before that, I did title examining here in county and this county and Geauga County. So what I'm going to go over is how to do a title exam. Obviously, we didn't have a building department back in the 1800s. So you have to start with the land itself and follow that land back, and hopefully you find a deed where there's a jump in price when you think, okay, there's probably a house on this land. And Deb is going to help you figure that out a little bit later. So several months ago, my husband and I decided to buy a late Victorian. And before we did the contract, I thought I have to know everything about it. I need to know who lived there, when the house was built, the style. So I started the title exam, and the first thing on this change sheet, when you look at the top, it has the parcel number. Now, if you look at the information on our website, it says 1900. That's kind of a generic, well, we don't know, it's old. So then I look at where is the property. Yes, it's in Geneva, but it's in lot 1, section 2 of Geneva, and it's an acre of land. And that's really hard to keep track of that. And hopefully you learn how to do a little bit of understanding the legal descriptions because acreage changes. There were 2 exceptions out before we got the property. So now it's like a 0.62. Eastwood came through and they extended that, and that was an exception. But as you go back, hopefully your deeds will have a prior volume and page. Now we ask that that is on all deeds now, you know, where the previous owner purchased it, where was it recorded at the recorder's office. So if it's not on there, that's when you have to go to the recorders and get some help running the indexes. So when I started going through here, I had a difficult time because the one lady that owned the property, that grew up in the property, ended up marrying the neighbor when he became a widower. So then she has two houses on two 1 acre parcels right next to each other. So again, you have to be careful. But I did find out that back in 1879, this E.S. and Ida Tenney purchased the property for $425. By 1880, they had sold it to a Hiram Rice, and at that point in time, he purchased it for $1,800. Now, when I look at my other house, which is very, very similar where I live now, I found that it was built in 1884 by P.W. Tuttle, and the price was $2,000. So that's when you come to the auditor's office and you talk to Deb and you look at the tax rules, and I will let her explain a little more on that. But do we have any questions about running a title exam or where to find things? Yes.
Is it something you can do online, or you have to go to the courthouse?
Partially. So there is a time frame that you aren't able to look at the indexes. And then as far as like online on Family Search, I think it goes to 1886 where you can look at deeds. You can do a lot online, but at some point you will probably have to go to the recorders.
I'm sorry, recorders or the auditors?
Well, you have to go to the recorders to look at the deeds. And then when you think you have an idea on when this house was built, then you would come to the auditors and you would go year by year at the tax rules. And that's what Deb is going to explain shortly. Yes.
Is there any information as to who built the home?
No.
No.
I know, like my one property, the gentleman subdivided properties and he built homes and he sold them. But as far as who the builder is, I don't know if there's any information at maybe the Munger Museum, but I haven't been able to find anything on the builders in the area.
Interesting, you know, you could find who built the house.
It would.
Our house was built by Amish.
Okay.
And it was built in 1895. I've never been able to find out exactly who built the house.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So if someone does a survey of a property, that's their own survey, is it recorded anywhere?
Well, they should put it a record. If you have a survey done, you can do a deed to yourself to put that survey of record.
Well, with where?
At the recorders. So you would come to us after the survey is done and it's been approved, and we could do the transfer, and then you could take it upstairs to record.
So if I wanted to look up a survey, is that where I would go?
Well, we do have some surveys in our office. It just depends on when the survey was done.
Like this year?
Oh, yes. Yes, we should have that.
Are are they required to record this?
No, but I believe they're only good for 1 year.
What, if you have a new survey?
If you have a new survey in 18 months.
18 months.
Yeah. And at that point, if you went after that before you recorded it, then you have to have a surveyor update.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the homes, to answer her question, like at Jefferson Historical Society,
yeah,
we have the builders.
Do you?
Some, not everyone,
right?
but we do have some
Right.
in our research.
Like with the house I live in, the other house is a block and a half away, and to me, I'm like, it has to be the same builder because the layout is exactly flipped. But then other people say, well, it was the style and everybody was building the same thing. So who knows?
The survey's only good for 18 months.
Yeah.
If you don't record it. If you don't record it.
If you just get the survey done and you keep it at home in a file and it's not put of record,
But if
then,
it's recorded, then it's good.
Then you're good.
yes,
Yep.
right.
Because the key is we don't want there to be a survey out there that's been out there for 3 or 4 years. You could make changes to the property, but in that survey being recorded wouldn't actually be the accurate survey for the property.
So I bought a property in 2006, so it should have served.
Or it would have had a stamp that's stamped a survey required next transfer. We give folks one break in between transfers to get the survey done. So you can actually see that on your deed. The stamp will either say survey not required, survey required next transfer, or survey not necessary.
Oh.
So it'll be on your deed what exactly.
So I gotta look at.
Yep.
I have questions.
How accurate is the date on the auditor's website for the building of your home? Is that spot on?
So for me, doing it as a title exam, I'm looking at the price, the jump in the price from like $400 up to, let's say, $1,800. And sometimes you'll see something on the tax records. So how long did it take them to build the house? You know, what month did they start? I know my one house, I'm saying 1884 because the value the previous year was, you know, less. And then I believe the one that we just got is 1879.
If the year is probably before 1920 or so, it's a rough guess.
Okay.
But, you know, post that, a lot more standards, a lot more different things like that. But especially if it says 1900, that's probably us saying we had no clue. So we're just, yeah, we're putting in 1900 or we're putting in 1850, rough guesses of, yeah.
I think what's typical of the older homes is the fieldstone basements.
Yep.
My walls are fieldstone, and I think, you know, when you go look at home, that's pretty much a good giveaway. Hey, this is a historical home.
Right.
And it's just very different. You know, you don't see a finished basement and dirt floors, but I love the old home. You know, it's very beautiful.
Right. And my husband told me that ours are fieldstone. The one was dug out and they poured concrete. The other one has a dirt floor. And he said they were balloon construction, which means, you know, just went straight up. And apparently it was something that we started in Chicago, and they called them balloon construction because they thought it being such a low cost built house, they were just going to fly away with the wind.
Could you go over what documents are in what office? So things like the fire records or the fire maps, fire insurance maps versus transfer documents
Well, we
versus.
do have like the references in the back. Yeah, in the.
Perfect. Okay, so Deb will go over that.
And then you can always call us and ask questions. But I'm going to let Deb talk about shortcuts on how to figure out the age of your head.
Hi, I'm Deb, also for David. I do have a love for old homes and genealogy. One way to, when you look at an older home, for example, there's a home that sits across from me that is very old, has the fieldstone in the basement, has tree logs in the basement. It has post beam construction in the living room. So if it's post beam, like there'll be beams in the corners, all four corners of the inside of the wall. That would be pre-Civil War construction. So that kind of gives you an idea of the time frame of when to start searching for that particular home. One thing you need when you come into our office to start researching the tax rolls to kind of get an idea, you need to know the owner's name and what year they roughly purchased the property. And that's where Heidi was talking about when you start looking at the deeds and you follow those deeds to see where the price went up. We would need to know the lot and acreage size and the township the property is located. A couple of ways to kind of get an idea where to start if it's an older home, say 1880, for example, and you want to work your way back. Some hints would be, if you look at the 1874 Atlas, which I have a copy there. The 1874 Atlas, for example, has.
So we were on this page?
Yes. So I highlighted.
Now we're on this page.
Sorry, there's no page numbers on
I didn't think about that, yeah. So this page now.
So my neighbor's home is in lot 46. And on the 1874 atlas, there's little black dots. Those are homes. Okay. So her house sits right across the street from the school here, which is actually in my front yard at one time. So I know in 1874, this query had the property. So that's where I started. I started looking for that name in the recorder's office, okay? Going through the index. So then you would find out, you know, who he purchased it from. And then you just start working your chain back from that person that owned it in 1874. So you see that there's a home there. So you're like, okay, it's, a, you know, that's your starting point to get a general idea. So there's also a map in the recorder's office on the wall. I don't know if anybody's been in the recorder's office. Yes, ma'am. You can, the atlas, the recorder's office has it in their office, but also in the back of the pamphlets here, there are websites that you can go, and I put on there where you can find the atlas, the 1874 atlas, there's 1905, there's fire insurance map. So there's some additional information in the back and to tell you how to find these things. Unfortunately, the 1856 map, the only place that's available is in the recorder's office or the commissioner's office. They have some on their walls.
We have one too.
Do you?
At historical.
Okay, good to know.
You do too.
You do too?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have it posted where people can see it?
Ours is a photocopy and it's in the document.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's the baker's map?
That's just what they called the baker's map. That, you know, whoever created it, that's what they named it, the baker's map. We do have a, pardon me?
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, Mr. Baker. We do have a book in our office, the Baker's Map book, and it has an index of all the owners at that time frame in the back of the book. The pictures of the maps aren't very clear, but there are names of owners in that. But on the 1856 atlas, for example, for that same piece of property, they showed more than one building. So that at that time, there could be barns that were added. And in 1856, you'll see that it's J.P. Jennings that owns it now in 1856. So then, again, that's one of the owners, and you just keep working your way back from that owner. And you keep following. The one thing too is to follow the acreage. It will change. I mean, it could be 100 acres forever, and then all of a sudden it's 5 acres, and the house is still on that 5-acre piece. So once you do that, and you start your chain, and you get your chain, like I did on that house, in order to find out when it was built, I'm on the index page here. And this is just, I just kind of retyped this up, how I searched it. It started in 1874 with seeing the query. He got it from James B. Warren, and that there was no sale price on it. So I kept working down until I saw a jump in price. So when I get down to James P. Jennings, it's $3,700. So I keep going, I go to William Willard, and it's $1,800, and that was in 1837. So then I went back just one more time to 1835, it sold for $1,200. And then the original purchase was $600. So it went from $600 in 1834 to $1,200 in 1835. That's when I think maybe one of the barns was built, because I went one more time to 1837, and that value went to 1,800. Unfortunately, our records in our office start at 1838 with the auditor's tax rolls. Okay, so that's the starting place that you start in our office. So I did that, and this is what our auditor's tax roll looks like. It's really hard to read. I could not get it blown up any bigger. But here's William Willard, who bought it in 1837, and they hand wrote one frame house. They added the value, and you'll see it's still lot 46, 100 acres, and then they added the value of the home. So that tells me that's when that house was built. And it could have been, you know, they could have started the first year, and that also could have been why the value was 1,200, because maybe it was partially done, and I don't know how they did that back then, if they charged, you know, taxes on partially built homes. So that is how I researched the home to figure out when it was built. There are websites that you can go to. Familysearch.org It's very helpful. And Heidi had made up steps in here to tell you how to research on Family Search. They have all of the land records starting with 1800s up to, you can search the index up to 1947. And there's deeds up to volume 115 on Family Search's website. You can search probate records. They have some maps and a lot of information on Family Search, and it's a free website. You sign up and you can do a lot from home. And I did put some additional websites, like Cincinnati Library. They have the 1874 Atlas and they have the 1905 Atlas as well. Library of Congress has the fire insurance maps, which are mainly businesses, but there are some houses on there. So what they would do, like the fire insurance map, you can look up Jefferson, the village of Jefferson, and see what businesses were back in like 1895, 1898 time frame. They don't have a lot of maps, but that's the time frame they would have them. Does anybody have any questions at all on how to research? Okay. Well, hopefully these additional websites will help in researching and trying to.
So we threw a lot at you all at once. That was the time. I enjoy your face right now. We have had a session of this every year. Typically, after the session, you now meet with staff, you know who to contact. There's a couple other historical societies, Jefferson Historical Society, the library as well. There's resources now that you can go to. I would encourage you to give us a call or an email, ask to meet with Deb briefly or Heidi, and then we can get you started in our office. We'll introduce you to the different machines, where the records are, or in the recorder's office. They did a great job at the very end at kind of showing you different resources for each office or online as well. It's definitely a time-consuming thing. If you enjoy this type of research, to be able to see, we can help expedite it with showing you exactly where it might be the easiest place for you to start and for you to go. But that's kind of a couple different ways of how to roughly identify tax maps, and deeds are much more of an accurate way. And that's split between our office and largely the recorder's office of how to do the back, where we find either jump in price, you find a sale, you find a split out of acreage. Yes.
Is there a better day and time to come to the office to do this?
If you come in and we're able to help you, you might have to wait a few minutes if we're busy with other customers, but we're there.
Our conveyance room, who else been to the auditor's office before? This one? Oh. Do you pay your taxes in person? No. Okay, yes. Yeah, a little bit. We're right across the hall. So our conveyance room, where you actually transfer property, we do about 5,000 plus transfers a year of property. So that's our staff will be able to help you. Deb and Heidi are in there along with 2 other staff members. Yes.
Again, back in the day, we had a concept of helping early 1800s, were taxes imposed on the property at that time, or when that was issued?
So actually, property tax is the oldest and original form of taxation in Ohio. Everything else has been newer, added on since, but property, the way of valuations, is actually our kind of original way of doing taxation revenue in the state. So as Deb said, though, unfortunately, our records only go back for our county to 1838. Yeah, for that, yes.
Might not pertain to searching for property. I purchased property many years ago, vacant, and I reside out of state, and I received these solicitations, unsolicited, from well drillers, not only but for mineral rights. They would send me a contract along with a check. Well, I shredded it all. How do I check to see if they inadvertently listed that they own property rights or the mineral rights on that property? Where do I go?
The recorder's office.
So this is a big thing we're asked quite often, especially if you watch late night TV. There'll be ads coming up saying, protect your home from being stolen or transferred erroneously. And there's actually a service the recorder offers for free that does just that. It'll essentially alert you if a lien's placed on your property, or if someone changes your property. Now, keeping in mind that it's really impossible to actually fraudulently transfer property. Liens can be placed on property at any time through the recorder's office. That's really something more, but they wouldn't have been able to get mineral rights from your property or to change your property status without you actually doing the deed process.
So how do I check to see if they didn't do it? Do I go to your office?
So it would be the recorder. That's all recorded. Yep, and kept in the recorder's office. But you can actually sign up. It's called Property Check on the recorder's website. It's a free service that will alert you by email if anything changes to your property. If oftentimes nothing really does. If you're involved with commercial activity a lot, for example, thinking of different plumbers, electricians, and liens are placed on property, that's where that might be useful. But if you're just a normal average person, you'll never see an alert come through for a change unless you actually transfer the property or change out the acreage or something like that. But you can sign up for Property Check on her website. Yeah.
Does Mohney County have that?
I believe so. Yep.
So it's not all over Ohio, or you're not sure? Not sure.
Each county can kind of have different programs in place.
Okay.
Ironically, I was just trying to check that this morning for someone, and her website's down. Barb's website's down for that Property Check. I would look at it next week, or give us a call, give her a call, and then we can walk you through. It's a very simple thing online. You have a question?
Can you look at old deeds online?
How far back?
On Family Search, you can look back from 1800 on Family Search. The old deeds up to, starting in the 1800s, but the volumes go up to 115. They're deed volumes. So like say you search the index for an individual and you find that they're in volume 89, page 90. You can view that from home on Family Search's website.
How the recorders is set up, it's not by year necessarily, that volume and page, or is it by year?
Not really. I mean, well, it is sort of.
Kind of.
When it's recorded,
right.
It's in that year.
It's not all of her information. All of our property information is on our website. We do have some surveys on our website. Otherwise, you'll have to come in person. But everything is in person in the recorder's office. Some information is available on her website directly from her, or there are the other resources that Deb shared.
Right. If you're looking for old, you
right.
Research.
She has 84. Yes. Yep. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he is fine.
Go ahead.
On personal property, when a person has purchased a piece of property, then adds onto it, and why isn't there one final deed description of all those purchases instead of researching a deed that has 17 purchases on it?
So, are you talking about a combo? I mean,
I'm talking about multiple purchases to add on to your property. But there's never been a deed description of the entire summation of all those purchases. They're all individually described.
Each parcel?
Yes.
So each parcel has its own deed and its own, that's how the state of Ohio has done property records and property ownership. If you were to combine all those parcels, then you would have one deed showing your entire property, which you can do. But if you have separate parcels, then you're going to have separate deeds because each deed is tied to each parcel.
Well, why isn't it updated into one deed?
That's up to the property owner. So if you wanted to, as the property owner, you could combine all of those into one parcel, one deed.
And that would require a survey.
Correct. To combine all the parcels.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Leads on properties. Don't you? Is that like a court order thing? You just can't put a lien on the property without going to court first. Am I correct?
no, you can put a mechanics lien. If somebody has done work on your property and you haven't paid them, then they can put a mechanics lien on your property.
They don't have to go to court to do that?
No.
Okay. So in other words, the auditor's like there's some information that means somebody put a lien on your property that you don't know that?
So we don't have auditor with liens. We have no involvement with liens. That's purely between the recorder and the property owner and the mechanic. So there are many things that will go to the recorder that don't go through us, things like mortgages, liens, just you could record anything really for fun, I guess.
Does a quick claim deed go through your office?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
My home says my driveway was off on 66th Street, Ashtabula Township, but somebody never recorded 66th Street. So the people that owned it took the property back. So I drove over that unimproved land for ages, not knowing nobody has that except the guy who lives in those states. What do I have to do to get that corrected? Or were the people who bonded the deed, were they wrong in not telling me you don't have a street to go into?
If I believe, is it West 66?
What?
Is it West 66th Street?
No.
No.
Yeah, West 66.
Okay. If it was vacated, and if there's a vacation of that road because it was never created, then when they vacate it, usually that property goes back to the individual landowners on half of that road. So
well, he took the whole thing rather than just half.
Well, it depends on what he owned at that time. You'd have to look at the vacation of that road to see what happened.
Oh, I should come in and talk to you.
Yeah, we can see if we have
Okay,
it.
I will do that.
There are some things that we can help you with, and many things that we will say get legal advice.
Right.
But we can help you get started. That's a great example of something that was done in the Wild Wild West before standards and before you'd be amazed in our county. Any other questions? Anything else? Hopefully it's that for some of you probably covered everything you already knew. Yes.
I do have a question. In Cuyahoga County, I went over to the archives to look at things. They've got everything all in and they've got trained specialists to go through it. So everybody doesn't handle everything. When I went to talk to the surveyor, he has rights to go into the attic of the old courthouse to look at things. As long as they're there where they were the last time he was there, he gets it done quickly. Otherwise, got to look all over things. Are we ever going to have an archive in this county?
So Cuyahoga is a very different league in our county. They're a charter county, which means that all these different offices we've been talking about is actually one office. So they're much more centralized, whereas we are split up between different offices with different responsibilities. So unless we were to move and combine county entities and offices, we're all going to be a little bit separate with some of the, now we're moving a lot of things online, which is getting essentially to the point where you can find everything in one place, being on websites and kind of more universal. But to Deb's point, probably family search and some of those free materials that we have in the back of the packet are your best chances for seeing everything in one place. I don't see us moving to a charter government though. Yes?
Again, the homestead exemption. Is it 62, when you're up to 65? 65.
Yep.
If you get a homestead exemption, and notice on the itemized list of the charges for your property, it's a negative. Let's say it's negative $400. How does that really affect the bottom line? It's not $400 difference that you're going to pay in property tax. It's going to be a certain percentage of something.
Nope. So homestead actually reduces the, this is why I love talking in front of people, because we do so many different things in our office. So homestead, that actually reduces the value of your property by $25,000. So if your value of the property our office said was $100,000, for tax purposes, it would actually make it $75,000. We would apply the tax rate to that $75,000 instead of to the $100,000. So the average savings is about $400 to $500. So that minus on your tax bill or on our website is actually the difference of what you will be paying. You'll be paying $400 more than what your tax bill actually says you owe to the county. At homestead, you qualify by being over 65 and it's means tested. So you have to make less in Ohio, just a gross income, than about $36,000 and own your property. Or you could be disabled and not work and be 100% certified disabled. Or you could also be in the military and disabled as a result of your military service and qualify as well.
And honestly, I don't know any except homestead. But the homestead also doesn't apply when you do the quick claim deed, transferring property to this. That homestead exemption is no longer relevant, am I correct?
Right, because the ownership changes. You can, and working with an attorney, you can set up a trust, for example, a living trust, or you can do a survivorship deed. There's a couple of different options where you still own the property then, and then you can still receive homestead, but homestead applies to the owner, unfortunately, not necessarily to who's actually living there. Yep, yeah.
And you can only have it on one piece of property, right?
Correct, yep. That and the owner occupancy, which is about a $40 savings if you own your home and live in it. everyone can qualify for the owner occupancy credit, which most folks, it's just automatic.
And so, what if somebody has it on 2 pieces of property in Ohio? Is there any double check that?
So each county doesn't, there's not one uniform place to actually send it. State Auditor and the State Department of Taxation is working on a uniform way for us to report that out. But right now, there is no actual way outside of the county. Inside county, yes. Outside counties, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
In state to state, do they ever check that?
So Florida is excellent with it. We get calls from Florida all the time saying, hey, this resident just moved here. They're saying they qualify for homestead here. Are they still owning property in Ohio? So every state's gonna be a little bit different with how much they rely on certain things. Florida, a couple others will often call us asking, but yeah, we're trying to follow that Florida model.
And that doesn't apply to you on like the homes.
Correct. Yep, it only applies to one property in your name, and it has to apply to the property that you own and reside in. Any other questions? All right, thank you again so much for coming out. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We really appreciate your involvement today.
On this multiple teams.
Oh, nice. We appreciate you